Hey guys, and welcome back to my weekly reading vlog where every time I finish a book, I hop on the camera and let you know my thoughts and feelings about it, and then also let you know what I'm going to be reading next. And I have kind of a lot to talk about, so we're going to just jump in. So the very first thing is Line by Line, How to Edit Your Own Writing by Kehrwald Cook. And this is a huge DNF. I am interested in learning how to properly edit my own writing because I think that that's an invaluable skill. However, I started reading this both in the beginning and like the actual instruction pages, and I wanted to cry. It was so boring. I can't even tell you if this is a good resource or not because I just could not even keep my eyes open. It was just, and to me that means it's probably not, it's not great for me at least. I don't know if the information is good, I'm assuming so, but this book was just not good for me, so this is a huge DNF. After that, I finished Wanderlust by Ann Aguirre, the second book in the Samantha Jacks series. Now this series is well, it's only the second book, and this is a reread, and I don't remember a ton from before, but what I'm realizing is that this series is just cotton candy. It is insubstantial fluff that's just, I mean, it's like the best action adventure movies, right? The plot is almost doesn't matter. That's not really why you're there. You're not there to like ask deep questions or be reading literature. You're just having fun, and that's really what this is. And I do think that this one was better than the first one in terms of just quality. Like, we got at least a little bit more development of relationships instead of just being like, boom, they're best friends. And just in general, like the plot was better, and the action was interesting. It was good. So I really enjoyed my time with this book. I still don't think it's like a super amazing book, but it's fun. And I think that a lot of times, every once in a while you just look for a fun book. And so that's what this was. And then next, I finished Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. I did it, you guys. Now, I thought that this was an interesting book. I got to the end, like the last 175 pages was so much better. But I'm very conflicted on this. So like I said in my last reading vlog, I really like some characters, I really don't like others. I like parts of the plot line. I like, the world building is interesting, but the explanation thereof is kind of annoying. Same with Allomancy. Like, I thought it was an interesting take on a magic system. However, the explanation of that magic system was just, I wanted to cry when I got to the chapters where that's all we were doing was explaining the magic system. And like, sometimes it was really difficult for me to picture what was going on because it was like, anyway, but, and then like the plot itself was just really, really slow in the beginning, and then it was okay in the middle, and then just took off at the end. And now, I got to the ending, and I was like, oh, I like how it came together at the end. And then I thought, was it worth it though? Was it, I don't know. Like, and so here's my question. If you read and loved the Mistborn series, please let me know at what point you got hooked. Because if it was the first book, then obviously, like, obviously says something to me, and that if I'm not hooked by now, then I'm probably not going to be. But if it was like the middle of the second book, that would be nice to know too. So just a question. But honestly, like overall, I think I'm gonna have to think on this, but right now I think my rating sits at like 3.5 stars. It was just, as good as the ending was, it didn't make up for how slow it didn't make up for all the rockiness in between, and it's a 650 page book. And so for me, I think that if you're going to take the time to spread out over 650 pages, it needs to be better than just solid or good. So about 3.5 stars. So I had a very productive day, but next I am going to pick up Extreme Makeover by Dan Wells. Now this is interesting. It is a satire, which I did not know. I don't generally do well with satire, but we're going to give this a shot because I really am excited about this. But basically there is a beauty company that is testing a new lotion, only to find out that there's these weird anomalies cropping up, and like literally the lotion is changing the DNA of the people. And so of course, like, you know, the government is really interested in that. So it just, and then the story goes from there. So I don't really know what to expect, but I do think that I should have an update for you soon, and you can start hearing my thoughts about it. But that's it, you guys. Very productive day. I'm very excited about this. But that's it. So until next time, bye. Hey guys, it is Tuesday night, and I have an update for you. First up, The Declaration by Gemma Malley, and I DNF'd this around page 50. So the premise of this book is actually pretty interesting. It is a futuristic dystopian. So we are in the year 2140, and we have discovered anti-aging medications, I guess. And essentially, if you want to have the medications and then never die, you have to promise you're never going to have children. And if you break that promise, you go to jail, and your kids are taken, whatever kids you have are taken away to these surplus halls where they are basically taught that they're lucky that they weren't killed, and to make up for the burden on resources that they now are, they have to be servants, which I already have some issues with this. But okay. Enter our main character of Anna, and she is been at the surplus hall for as long as she can remember, basically, and she is now 15, getting ready to move out and get a job as a servant. And then a mysterious boy shows up, of course, and he says, "I know your parents." Then there's the mystery. So if this sounds like a very familiar storyline, that's because it is. Like, first of all, this is a young adult novel. So it just felt very young. Like, this is something that I probably could give to my 9-year-old. At least what I read, I could probably give it to my 9-year-old and it would be fine. So pretty young. And then it was very predictable. Like, as soon as around page 30, I started predicting the things that were going to happen. And then some of them came true, and then I started predicting the rest of the book, and I'm like, I know how this is going to turn out, and it's young adult, which I don't generally love. I don't like the main character so much because she's super brainwashed, and I don't really care enough to kind of stick around for the, like, adjustments that she's going to have to make, and I just don't. It's just not for me. That's what it boils down to. It's just that this is not for me. I'm not saying that this is bad. I'm saying that I can't make a good call because it's so not for me. So I'm not going to finish it. And then next we have The Orphan Queen by Jodi Meadows. This is the first book in a duology, and it is young adult fantasy. And essentially in this book, there's magic, and every time you use magic, there's a thing that's created that, like, is a problem. The wraith. I don't really quite understand it because we haven't quite got to that part in the book. But the wraith, and it has slowly taken over different kingdoms on the land. And enter in our main character of Will. She was the crown princess of this kingdom, and her king and queen, her parents basically decided, we're not going to quit using magic. Everybody else around them said, we're not going to use magic, we're not going to let it grow. And then her kingdom was basically like, we're not that worried about it, and they kept using magic. Well, so then the people came in and overthrew them and, like, killed the king and queen, and then all the nobles got adult nobles got caught, and then all the kids got sent off to an orphanage. And like, and then apparently they ran away from the orphanage, but the timing of that is weird because like they would have been like 10 years old. Some of them would have been, most of them would have been around 10, but then like some of the youngers would have been like 3 or 4. I don't know. Don't get it. Anyway, now Will is determined to get back her kingdom. And so she is going to go infiltrate the palace so that she can get the information that is necessary so that the rebellion can go on as planned. Clearly, there are some problems with this book, and I did, in fact, DNF it right around page 50. Now, there was a problem with what their ages were. There was a problem with, like, actually, like, I'm okay with their kingdom getting overthrown. There's the problem that Will doesn't actually know how to lead, but apparently she wants to be queen. Like, she's not even the leader of the little orphan group she's got going on. Like, everybody looks to somebody else. And I was just like, okay, if you can't even gain the trust of your group, like, how do you expect to be queen? And then she's going to the palace. Well, she met the crown prince and like 10 years ago, and she's just like, I don't think he'll remember me. And I'm just like, okay, but like, you're risking your life, and you know, whether or not this rebellion is going to succeed on him not recognizing you. That's a big assumption. And just like, you guys, there was just so much that's like only part of it. And like, I liked the writing, but there were so many plot holes. And it was just like, as I was reading, it also felt like every young adult fantasy about a secret princess that I had ever read in my life. So it's just like, it's, again, we're back, I don't think it's great. And so I would only recommend it to people that really, really like that trope and are okay reading stories that they've read before. So DNF'd that one as well. And now on to actual progress. I am now on page 39 of Extreme Makeover by Dan Wells. This is a mixed bag. Actually, the storyline is interesting. I don't love the corporate stuff, like how, oh gosh, you guys, like, but the corporate stuff is like really not my jam, but it's okay. The storyline is still taking off. It's interesting. I don't like that Lyle he's got a really young and really pretty assistant, and he is having a hard time with that, in that he's like, he clearly is attracted to her, and he clearly is also constantly thinking, don't think of her like that. Not my favorite. So, it's a little bit of a mixed bag. I am going to give it to probably page 100 to sort itself out and then kind of evaluate there. But overall, I'm not sure how I feel about this yet. But I'm only 39 pages in, so a lot can change. So, just a heads up, like I said, it is Tuesday night, so this is the last day of June. However, in July, I am going to be trying a lot of books from my TBR that I specifically am not as excited about, and a lot of them are probably going to be DNFs. So, like, going forward, there might be a lot of DNFs on these reading vlogs. I'll try to keep it like, I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to just not show them. It's just going to be, I just wanted to warn you, there's probably going to be a lot of DNFs. So, there you go. But that's it, you guys. So until next time, bye. Hey guys, it is Thursday night, and I have a couple of updates for you. I have DNF'd 3 books, so let's get right into it. The very first one is Article 5 by Kristen Simmons. This is the first book in a series, maybe even a trilogy, I'm not really sure. But in this we are following, it's a young adult dystopian, and we're following Ember, and in this world where there was a war, and after the war, the people in charge threw out the Bill of Rights and instead instituted these moral statutes. And they are very, very fundamentalist Christian, conservative Christian, often that direction. So it was the kind of thing like Article 5 defines a family as one man, one woman, and their children that were born after they got married, kind of thing. And so when we when our story starts with Ember, it is the day that her mom is getting arrested because she is a single mother, where Ember was born out of wedlock. And so Ember's mother is arrested and sent off somewhere, and Ember is sent off to a rehabilitation center because that's apparently the consequences for being born out of wedlock. And so, and it just kind of goes from there. I did DNF this around page 50, and I did so because I just couldn't handle it. Like that, the beliefs of the very, very conservative minds, and it wasn't just the whole, like, this is what a family is. It was like everything. That those very, very conservative beliefs actually really make me angry. And also, there was violence against these kids, and I was not okay with that either. So it's one of those things where it's making a point, and I think that's okay. It's just not something that I could handle without getting really angry, and so I decided that this is just not something that I'm going to read. I did think it was good. Otherwise, it's just, I don't want to be angry all the time. So after that, we have Extreme Makeover by Dan Wells. I ended up DNFing this around page 150. Now, as I mentioned, I'm not always great with satire, but I was doing okay with this. I liked the storyline. I understood what was happening and where it was going, and it was pretty good. However, this is another one that made me very low-key angry at stuff, and I just don't want to be angry because of my books. And it was really because the corporate execs were making all these immoral choices, which really I kind of wanted to just smack them around and be like, you're being jerks. You're not doing what's right for society. And then Lyle, our main character, was just like, well, I'll do something good. And then he turns around and does something really stupid. And I did not like that. And because even though I thought the storyline was good, I wasn't super excited about it. And I have a feeling I know where the ending is going. And it's not generally like where I like my endings to go. So I was very comfortable just deciding to DNF this. I will say, however, that I do like that there are certain things that are pointed out within this book. For example, it's not enough to be not harmful. You actually, like, being not harmful doesn't make you actually helpful. And that was a big conversation right before I put it down. So I really did appreciate that. But yeah, I don't want to be angry. And I had two angry books going on at the same time. It was not good. And then lastly is Glitch by Heather Anastasiu. I'm not entirely certain how to pronounce the last name. But in this one, it is also a young adult dystopian, and we are following our main character of Zoe, and she is part of this community that lives underground because above ground is all like nuclear fallout, and everybody has like hardware and software installed various places, so that, and all it does is it basically dulls everything. It dulls all your senses and your feelings, emotions, so that everybody can live in perfect harmony. No wars will break out, right? Only Zoe is glitching, and so occasionally she comes through, and now she can see colors and smell smells, and like have feelings, and apparently she also has like a burgeoning telekinetic powers, and then she, it goes away for a while, and then it comes back and goes away, and then the story kind of goes from there. Now, I was actually into this in the beginning. I was thinking that I was going to actually keep reading this book. However, there were a couple of things that were so wrong that it actually pulled me out of the story hard. and I just couldn't get back into it. And the main one was that Zoe has never felt feelings before this glitch. She has never seen any emotions on anybody else's faces, really. She doesn't understand them. She can't identify them. But somehow, with just a little bit of reading and starting to be able to identify her own emotions, she's actually able to identify everybody else's. So she does meet another boy who is also glitching, and she's like, he smiled at me sincerely. And I'm like, you don't know what a sincere smile looks like because nobody smiles around you. That's not correct, right? And so it was that kind of stuff where she could identify his emotions. And I'm like, you have literally no practice at this. It's not that easy, I promise. So and it wasn't just that. There were a couple of these things that happened really quickly, one after the other. And like I said, it pulled me out of the story, and I really never was able to get back in. And so I decided to just go ahead and DNF it. But that is it, you guys. Like I said, there's going to be a ton of DNFs, and I hope you stick with me through this. I am happily cleaning out my TBR shelves. But oh, I forgot to mention what I'm reading now. I should tell you that. Sorry. I am now reading Magic Strikes by Ilona Andrews, the third book in the Kate Daniels series. And this basically, Kate finds one of her allies almost dead, and now she's got to figure out what's going on and how to fix it. I am already 60 pages in. This is the volume where I think this series really takes a turn and just becomes really, really good. And it's already evident within the first 60 pages. So I am enjoying it so, so much. Okay, but now really, I'm done. That's all I have to update you guys on. So until next time, bye. Hey guys, it is Saturday night, so it is time for my end of the week update. And I know that this video is going to be super long, so we're going to try to just kind of run through all the books. But the very first one is The False Prince by Jennifer A. Nielsen. And this is a young adult fantasy novel where we're following our main character of Sage, who is an orphan boy. And he and 3 other orphan boys were chosen by this noble guy, and they're going to be trained to try to impersonate the prince, the crown prince, a prince, I'm not really sure. So with the intent of eventually putting him on the throne to be a puppet king. I DNF'd this around page 50. I just wasn't feeling it. I'm not super into political intrigue kind of stuff. I enjoy it on occasion, but like it's not my favorite. And I didn't like the main character of Sage. There was a point in time in those 50 pages where he kind of got the smackdown, a verbal smackdown from one of the other characters, basically pointing out that the actions he had taken like 6 months previously had unintended consequences, like really, really negative consequences that everybody else had to deal with, and he didn't see because he had left. And here's the thing. When this happened, I was cheering for the guy that was giving this smackdown to our main characters. Like, oh, that's not good. Like, I want to root for the main character. So between those two things, I just said, you know what? This is just clearly not for me. It really wasn't bad. It just wasn't for me. So I DNF'd it. And then the next book I did finish, and it is Magic Strikes by Ilona Andrews, the third book in the Kate Daniels series. This was a really good book. This is finally the turning point for character development for Kate. She is like, we learned some of her background, which is really nice. We didn't get a ton of extra world building in this, some, but not a ton. And the plot was actually really nice in this one. It didn't feel rushed at the end. It didn't feel like, it felt nice. It felt good. So the only problem is we did have a return of that ignorant white people racism. And what I'm finding is that it's really just that Ilona Andrews doesn't seem to know how to describe people that are of a different race or ethnicity without kind of using stereotypes. And so that's why it just kind of felt icky all over the place. It's not as bad as the first book was, but it's not as problem free as the second book was. So it's somewhere in the middle. Like I said, I don't remember this being so bad in her other books. So again, I'll keep an eye on it. It does make me sad because like I can't thoroughly enjoy these books, but I still did really like it otherwise. Yeah. After that, the next book I attempted is Birthmarked by Caragh O'Brien. So this is the first book in a young adult dystopian trilogy, and we're following our main character of Gaia, who is a midwife, and she lives outside the enclave, which is basically a walled-in city, and then surrounding the part where she lives is apparently the wasteland, and it's a young adult dystopian. So, I mean, like, I don't even know exactly what's supposed to happen, except I can kind of guess what's supposed to happen because it's a young adult dystopian. And I honestly DNF'd this around page 25 because it just wasn't holding my attention, because it is like every single young adult dystopian I have ever read. And what I am finding is just that I am much, much more choosy about the young adult dystopians that I read. I've just read enough of them that I want something different and I want something engaging. I don't want the same thing every time. So I'm not saying that it was bad. I'm just saying it was unremarkable, and I'm at the point where that doesn't work for me. So I DNF'd it. And then lastly, the next book that I'm going to pick up is How to Ride a Dragon's Storm by Cressida Cowell, the 7th book in the How to Train Your Dragon series. Now, in this particular volume, our hero, Hiccup Horrendous Haddock III, has to win the annual intertribal swimming contest, something like that, but he has to do it by coming in last. So, of course, he's going to go on an epic swimming journey, and I'm sure there will be all kinds of misadventures. Now, on the back, I read this and I was just like, what is this? But that's exactly what I said about the last book, and the last book was actually really nice to read. So I am hopeful that this is more of the same. We will see. I'm sure you will have an update from me about it very, very soon. But that is it, you guys. So until next time, have happy reading, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.